And the most important things I could have ever taught you: own the trademark, stay in the game, and slow
Is
is
fast
fast enough.
enough.
And if you throw enough shit against the wall, something will stick.
Hey guys, it's Joey Chanel with Sippin Sellin, and today I have a very special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, in his own mind, my father, Joe Ballin. Welcome, Dad, to Sippin Sellin. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me, for your time, and the opportunity to tell you how proud I am of your compliments and the family you raised.
I guess that's not really the truth that you're saying. You're flubbing your words.
You.
Okay, so I invited my dad to be the first guest on my episode of Sipping and Selling because I thought we had to start from the beginning. Joe, how did you get into the liquor business?
Wow, interesting question. It was 1960, as I recall. I had just been married to my first wife, beautiful Elizabeth Beck. I was an electronic engineer working for Precise Development Corporation as an engineer that developed the first surround sound music device. They had me traveling all over the country installing this equipment. My wife Liz asked me, "Why don't you ask your father? I don't like you traveling. I would love you home, start a family." Well, knowing the truth about wives, I agreed instantly. Went to my father, told him the story. He looked at me. He told me I wasn't tough enough.
You've said that to me. So Grandpa Jules, was he in the spirits industry at the time?
Well, his grandfather, Abraham Ballin, who changed his name when my father Jules got married to Ballin to hide the past, was a bootlegger.
Okay.
Repeal came, and of course, their partners from Canada, I can't tell you the name, like my grandfather.
I guess we'll have to take
couldn't
that to
tell
Google.
you the name. My father, Jules, went to work for Seagram. And shortly after I was born, and like you, I was born into this game. This game. That's how you got here.
I think I got here a little bit differently. I went to college for psychology to try to work through all the things I saw growing up that may be a little inappropriate. And I fell into the business because your secretary got into an accident. Do you remember? And I had to work in the office while she was out. And I had to learn the back of the house of the business. I learned how to work with QuickBooks. And then I had to do every other errand, whether it was going to the viaduct to pick up samples or you had me work events. And I didn't even know what to do at these events because people would come over and say, you know, what's the proof of this product? And I was just thrown in to the pool with no water wings. I didn't even know what proof meant. And so I kind of just learned guerrilla style without any formal education in sales or marketing, which you didn't have either. You didn't go to school for this, right? You just went to your engineering program. And I find that you often refer to yourself as the marketing genius. So what do you think made you feel comfortable in taking on that title? What do you feel, made you identify with the marketing side of the business that excelled your products? Do you think that marketing, like this shirt I'm wearing, this is one of your original brands that I remember from childhood, Don Q, rum from Puerto Rico. Was that your idea, that campaign around Q Me, or was that someone else that maybe was, an icon to you, or someone in the business that you considered to be a guru?
Very interesting question. I learned at an early age with fabulous mentors, nothing's new since the Egyptians.
Okay.
So, having that philosophy, I looked for the opportunity to bring back brands that were neglected, that they needed.
You didn't silence your cell phone. Okay, you felt like you had to pick up brands that were neglected. I remember you talking about how there was a product that was failing, I believe, because it was giving people stomach problems, called Bailey's. And you reformulated a new campaign around that brand. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Bailey's, what a brand of history, a new category. Cream liqueurs. They, at that time, I was running one of 4 distributors in New York, and they called for a boardroom meeting. It's a great story. I got to tell it as you brought
that's
up
why
Bailey's.
I asked. Hello.
So they came to us, the owners of Bailey, Paddington Corporation. We're in the boardroom. They said, listen, we sold you 3 competitors, each 600 cases. We need you to buy 400 cases, fill up the container to go forward. I turned to the boss, the man. I asked the people to leave. I wanted a caucus. They leave. I turned to the man. I said, listen, buy 3,000, go exclusive with it. Rest is history.
You went and targeted females, if I remember correctly. And back then, I don't think a lot of brands were targeting females at the time. Most females were shied away from spirits. They were more geared towards the sparklings, the wines of the world. But as I remember it, you focused a lot of your brands and targeted females and felt that they were the consumer of choice. Our next brand that we ventured into, how I got started in the spirits world with you, was a brand that was an Italian product, and it was a liqueur. And you used something, like you said, that it's nothing new. You went off of maybe a play on a mimosa or a French 75, and you went after that category, which, escalated the business and took off into a category that was niche back then. I find that you like to come out with things that you maybe say had been done already, but you also love to try new things and be an innovator. Right now, you're coming out with a new product you launched recently called Cask 420. It's a hemp-infused spiced rum. This category is something untouched. What made you want to go into this type of SKU? And let me just preface by saying it has no psychoactive effects.
Well, don't tell anyone there's no THC.
I have to, because that'll get us into trouble. Didn't you see what's happening in the news recently? People are pulling stuff off the shelves that have CBD and THC. So we're lucky that we were so smart to make sure that there was no traces and only a hint of a flavor.
I had the greatest mentors in anyone's career. I dealt with all the power people of the 50s, 60s, and 70s in the highly competitive liquor industry. How did I create Cast 420? Simple. COVID came. I couldn't get a container of whiskey from Ireland. From 3,000 a container freight, they went to 33,000. The guys who run the world bid the freight to 50,000. I couldn't compete. I was sitting counting waves in Dorado Beach, Puerto Rico, with nothing to do. Like you, I was blessed with hard work in your genes.
And torture.
So there I'm sitting with nothing to do, counting waves. And I watch Colorado and the federal government pass recreational hemp and cannabis. I said to myself, I got to take a shot. So I formulated it, sent it to the federal government, and of course, I had a lot of pushback. Well, after sleeping on the problem, very important at my age, sleep on everything. No more off the hip. AI into my brain. I sat there and thought through this problem. And I came up with a formula and submitted it to the federal government lab. And guess what? They approved it. And today you own the only cannabis hemp infused rum,
Spiced rum.
spiced rum in the category you can't miss.
Yes, it's
We're not the smartest people in the world.
You heard
But
it here
by
first.
what? We were at the table at the right moment. The most important thing I can teach you, own the trademark and the timing. You're the only horse in the race, and with a 62% tasting ratio, twice as large as Ballin. You can't miss.
And it's female owned, which is very important in society today. So there's that. Well, I was talking about how you're an innovator and you like to create things and be sometimes the first to the category, like you mentioned. You're excited about this particular product, Cast 420, and you feel like you are ahead of the time, but it's okay. In the past, I remember you coming out with a product that was an RTD, a ready-to-drink product. It was brought to you as a favor, and it wasn't necessarily something that was a passion project of yours.
Tropical fantasy.
It wasn't really your idea. And I also find that with your Irish whiskey, that wasn't technically your idea. It was brought to you. Why do you think a lot of people like to consult with you about products, and why do they think that you are the person to pioneer these projects into the stratosphere?
As I look back on my career, I had no fear of making a mistake. None. If I made a mistake, which we all do, I changed it before they even understood what was happening. Similar to what's happening today in politics.
Okay.
Let me tell you a side story.
Okay.
And the two most important things I could have ever taught you: own the trademark, stay in the game, and slow is fast enough. And if you throw enough shit against the wall, something will stick.
Yes, I happen to say that a lot in my other client meetings. I often throw a lot of Joe-isms out there, like that one, throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. There's some other things that you taught me in business that I'm curious if it came from your dad, that maybe he taught you and it wasn't just these mentors. Some of the things that you taught me, I think, have really escalated CADCAP and taken me to the next level. I, at the time, don't think that it was something so positive. You always made me feel like if I brought you a purchase order or if I got a deal done with a distributor, I still had to excel the next time. It was never a good enough order. It was never a good enough relationship. And I find that with my clients outside of you, I take that on where I feel like I need to learn to celebrate every win and that every win is important. And at the same time, I've also learned from you that no matter what product I'm selling, it's not the product that the client, is buying. It's me. And
Sorry, honey.
And like you said, it's in our DNA. I didn't want to be in the spirits business in the beginning. I went to school for psychology, as I mentioned, but I find that I take a lot of my humor from you and our life growing up in this industry. And I also take things I've learned from psychology and I use that to my benefit. Like you said, you have to be a chameleon in this industry. And if you make a mistake, that's fine. You learn from it and you try to do better the next time. But I also find that I have to pivot within sometimes. I'm in these meetings with these buyers that are very difficult. Do you remember learning anything else from your father in the industry that you want to instill in me that maybe you haven't yet?
I think I explained it to you clearly. It's who you know, not what you know.
That's true.
The relationships. I brought you to Florida some 15 years ago. I recognized that the boss would bless you, and he did. Mm-hmm. It's your last name. Never forget that. It's your connection. It's respect, it's loyalty, it's friendship, it's relationships.
It is relationships. It's interesting that you always have to bring up my maiden last name because most of my clients don't know me by my maiden last name. But, I know you like to take credit for a lot of things about me. What is the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to watching me do with CAS 420?
That's a great interesting question. I interpret it as a question you're asking me now I'm an old cockroach.
How old are you?
88.
No,
they can't
89.
Get rid of me. Just like a cockroach. Old cockroach. Stay at the table. And I interpret your question. What would I do today if I was just starting out? Well, I got to be candid. Your generation is drinking High Noon, White Claw, RTDs. My people are dying. They've got gray hair. No one's drinking whiskey. They're all smoking weed. Weed. All smoking weed. So what would I do today? I had a meeting in Puerto Rico last week. The Puerto Rican government is willing to give me $5 million to market Puerto Rican grown weed and sell it to all the legalized
markets.
Okay. So, as a gift to you again, because it makes me happy, I have now have the next CAS 4020 product
420
here for you.
Lovely. Don't do drugs, everybody.
We're gonna sell this product.
I'm in the spirits industry. I'm not in the cannabis industry.
Legal CAS 420 weed, $20, $5 a base, rolled, inch and a half, 3 milligrams, super weed.
Okay, Joe,
Good
let's
luck.
get back on track. Thank you. I'll make sure I give this to the right person.
Hey, Chris. Ah! Ah!
Oh, my God. Okay, let's reel it in, Joe. Let's reel it in. You
Yes.
never answered the question.
All right, what was the question?
All right, let's try a different question. I don't know if you liked that
What
question.
was the question?
My question was, what are you looking forward to seeing me do with Cast 420 before you die?
Sell it for $100 million. I know the customer.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, I know. I'm your namesake. I was going to ask you about that. Why, when you have two sons in the industry, did you choose to save my name as your namesake?
I'll take the fifth.
Okay, moving on. Oh, my God, Dad.
You
All
don't
right.
know who your father is?
I know who you are, believe me.
Better than Trump, huh?
You're lucky you named me after you because a
Who?
lot of people...
I didn't do that. You didn't like that.
My mom named me after you.
She was smarter than you and I, and I'm going to tell you something else. She's smarter than you and I now.
I agree.
That's some time of bullshit.
All right, so let's talk about... I thought there was a funny story about when you started. There was a brand that I remember that I think you sold for the distributor that used to give people diarrhea. What was that story?
I have, I'm known in Italy. I get a call from Campari. They own a egg yolk.
Ugh.
Vav.
Ew.
Vav. They couldn't sell 100 cases in the United States.
Okay.
I took the Vav home. I mixed it with orange juice, and I created Soleil Sunburst.
Oh, God. Okay, so you create
I
this
bought
product.
a mixing machine. I put it on the counter, and I sold thousands of containers.
Okay.
Months later, I get a call from my guy in San Francisco. He says they're giving shit to everyone.
How do you not quality control something like that? Like in today's market, the problems that people are solving are RTDs. They're exploding or they're expiring and making people sick. Why didn't you think to quality control that product before it hit the market and it was going to be on the beach potentially is why people were getting sick, right? It got hot.
Same problem I had with Bailey's. I introduced Bailey's in New York exclusively. 3,000 cases I rolled out, and they couldn't pour it out of the bottle. First shipment, 3,000 times 12 bottles out in the field. I called for a meeting. Paddington shows up. I said, hey, guys, I got 3,000 cases in the best joints, and they can't pour it out of the bottle. I want it all picked up. I want it all replaced. And you're paying the fucking bill.
All right. Sounds good. You're still always avoiding my questions, though. Why didn't you quality control that product?
We did. But no one knew that if you left it after you opened it, and you drank enough of it, it caused diarrhea. Who the fuck checks for that?
I think that's a great place to end. I would like to thank my first guest, my dad, Joe Ballin. Thank you so much for being on Sippin Sellin. I appreciate you so much. You've taught me everything that I know, and I love you. And I'm happy that you decided to come on the show, even though you didn't want people to know anything about your history in the spirits world. I personally think people are going to find it very, very exciting. And I'm very happy that we got to celebrate St. Patrick's Day together with Claudia Irish Whiskey.
Fill up the glass.
Oh, my God. Just cheers. You don't need any more alcohol. You're slurring.
You
didn't drink after we cheers. It's bad luck.
At the outset, I want to thank you for who you are. You, your family, my favorite son-in-law, Tony. Why you ever didn't why you changed your name, I'll never understand. You should have been Joey Ballin. However, I understand all your samples are still Joey Ballin.
Let me explain something to you. There's only one Joe Ballin in this world, and I think that I could never live up to your hype or your character.
Bullshit.
And
Bullshit. You made me the most proud living person in the world.
Oh.
Kid, I invented you.
I'm aware.
And let me tell you, there's no stopping you.
Thank you.
And if you don't have the answer, look in the file, how I handle it.
I thought you were going to say AI, since that's your favorite person now. You love to talk to AI.
You brought up AI, huh?
Yeah, that's
well,
your
let
best
me
friend.
tell you, I had 5 secretaries my whole life. In my mind, today, I am smarter, faster, with the Moses because of AI. I give them the plot, the input, and they bang in 30 seconds give me Einstein. The CAA, Creative Artists Association, brought to me by my lawyer now. They want to do a movie. I can't do a movie. Thank you for the moment, your time, the respect, the love, the friendship,
I love
and
you, Dad.
what you have produced in my late years.
Thank you for being here, Joe.